Hello friends, myself Rakesh. So today we are going to learn invoice processing. Let me show you. I have all the invoices in the input PDF folder. Okay, these are all the invoices, and my task is to read all the invoices and collect specific data. Let me show you one of the invoice. So this is one of the invoice, and my job is to collect whom it was billed to, the date of issue, invoice number, amount due, right? All of this, anything you would like to, shared hosting price, what was the price, what is the late fee price. So all of this, how do you create and download the data to Excel file? So I have already run the bot, and you can see pretty well how nicely it is downloading all of the data from the PDF. Not only one PDF but the multiple PDFs. So in this folder right now I have got how many? 5 different PDFs. Let's say you have got hundreds of PDFs where a team has to process, or thousands of PDF. The bot is capable to handle this. So we are going to design the workflow which will handle all of this invoices, pick the specific data, and once it is processed, it's going to store them in the archive PDF. So your input PDF folder should be blank. So let's see how to do that. Alright guys, so my first activity would be, I have to read all the invoices one by one. Okay, so for that what I'm going to do is, let me use a assign activity, and here I'm going to write Directory.GetFiles. Okay, this one you have to select, and let me open the expression window, and here you have to say in the bracket. So in this bracket you can put the path of the directory. So this is the path, right? So copy this path, and I'm going to mention it over here. So now Control K, collect PDF. Alright, so it's going to collect all the PDFs. So now what you have to do, this collect PDF, if you see this, there are got multiple files. So right now it is only 5, but you can have hundreds or more than that, right? You have to process in a day. So it is you have to have a variable which is an array type. So go to variable, and here what you do, create this as array and select a string. Okay, so this part is done. So right now what we have done, step 1, create a array to store all the files, right? So all the files are stored there. Now let us have a check. Let me use a for each loop. So here I am going to mention collect PDF. Okay, and remember, whatever variable you are creating, that should be to your main scope. Alright, now let me simply put a message box. And here let me say item. Now if I run this, I should be able to see all the files. So we'll go step by step. Okay, we'll understand. So you can see that one by one the files are coming. Then 101, 102, 103, 4. So all the files are looping. So we understood how to start that, right? So we used a for each loop, and we can collect all the files. Now what is the step 2? Step 2 is I need to open each PDF, right? Then I need to process it. So to open a PDF, you have to use the activity called start process. So just go here and say start process. Okay, so we are going step by step. So first is we went to that, and then now I want to open one by one. So here what you do, simply mention item.toString. So the path that you have collected here, the same is going to run here and the file should get open. So let me show you this. You can see one by one the files are opening. Okay, so all the 5 files got opened just by using a for each loop. Okay, so this one you understood. So we are using a start process activity to open all PDFs. Okay guys, so I told you before you start to automate uh, PDF files, you have to do some Adobe settings, right? So step 3 is that. So you have to enable PDF settings. First thing is you click on edit, click on preferences and go to reading, and here ensure this is selected as recommended. Okay, infer reading is recommended, so this one you should select, and then override reading order in tag document should be unchecked. Okay, and then page versus document, here you should say read entire document. So this is something you need to check in your PDF before you do the automation. Done. Now the next thing is confirm before tagging document. So by default it will be turned on. Ensure you uncheck this. So tagging is not required before the confirmation page is not required. So uncheck this. Okay. Now come to accessibility. Here in the accessibility, ensure the first 2 lines use document structure for tab order and the enable assistive technology support. These 2 things are much required. If you do not enable, then your PDF automation will not work. Okay, so these are the things that I said. So first thing I said, go to reading, it should be recommended, read entire document, this should be unchecked, this should remain unchecked. Then go to accessibility, here this 2 should be checked. Okay, so this much you should do. So this we are done. Now the step 4. Step 4 is there is something called control 1. So before you run the PDF automation, it is required that PDF is in actual size. Okay, if it is not in actual size, then when you are using your anchor base or trying to detect an element from the PDF, it will not work properly. So ensure this actual size is enabled. So click on view, click on zoom and click on actual size. So control plus 1 is the one of the ways. So when you click on this, you can see the file has come to the original size. Okay, this is a recommended process. You have to do that. Now how to do that in the UiPath? Let's see that. For this I have to use a send hotkey activity, and here I have to do control plus 1. I said right, control plus 1. So click on control and select num1. Okay, so this part is done. I started the bot. Let's see, it should open the files now. As per our programming, it should open the file and then one by one, and it should, you can see that right, it's not maximizing in the proper way, right? Do you see the first one did not maximize, the last one did not maximize, this one done. So there is a inconsistency. So if there is an inconsistency, why? Because while it's opening the PDF, it's running so quick, the control plus 1 is not getting time to which one to work on and which one not. Okay, now to fix this you have to use a delay. Getting my point? So you have to use a delay activity so that there is a consistency throughout. So I will give a delay of 2 seconds, should be fine. To maximize all files, use a delay activity. 0.2 seconds is good enough. Okay, so you have to try in your system. If your system is quite slow, then you can increase it to probably 3 seconds, 4 seconds, depending on the system you're working. I think 2 seconds should be good enough in a general way for most of the systems. So I have already applied that. Let me save it and let me close all the open files and let me run the bot once again. So you can see one by one it is maximizing all the PDFs. Okay, so this is one of the practical problem that you will face, and you should know how to rectify that by simply using a delay activity. Till now we have what we have done. Till now we have successful in opening all PDFs in actual size. Okay, now next thing is I need to grab each element, right, whatever I want. So if I go back to the PDF, I want to build date, then date of issue, all this data one by one I want. Now to do that, the activity that you will be using is, so there are many options. Okay, one is you have to collect data. Now for that, activities, what are the list of activities that you can use? So the best I would suggest is go with Anchor Base or Get Text. Okay, these are the two best activities I would suggest, which works pretty well in a dynamic situation. Okay, so this is understood. Now let's start using them. So go here and say Anchor Base. All right, and inside Anchor you have to use another activity called Find Element. Okay, and the activity to collect the data should be Get Text. I can simply use only Get Text, but generally there will be a little bit problem if I simply use it. So you have to try that which one works best. So I generally go with Anchor Base and sometimes with Get Text as well. Only Get Text can do the job also, right? So that is covered in the, I think in the chapter 2. Okay, so you understood you have to get the find element and get text. Now let's indicate on screen. So before you do that, let me go to one of the PDF file, and let's say I want to take the Rahul Jignesh, okay, the build to, whom it has been built to. So for that, what you have to do, you have to click on indicate on screen. Okay, and after the processing is done, just highlight this. Okay, now you can see the find element has been highlighted. Now the get text, click on indicate on screen, and the text that I want to collect is this one, right? Select that. Okay, so I've selected. So once that is done, now your anchor. So which one is the anchor? Build to is the anchor, and this is the value. So anchor is, if I go back to the PDF, my anchor is on the top. Come back to UiPath, go to Anchor Base, and here you should select top. Clear? Because the anchor is on the top and the value is at the bottom. So this is how you should arrange it. And one more thing, the find element. Okay, select this, maximize the target, and here you have something called selector. This is something a key thing in a PDF automation. So this is very, very critical. Okay, so the key thing is your step 6 is modify the selector. Okay, this is very, very important, guys. Otherwise your entire PDF automation will not function properly. Okay, so let's see how to do that. Now if you analyze this particular window, it is saying it should pick the PDF which has the name 100, but I want that to do it for all the files, right? So it should not just be 100, it could be anything. So what you do, instead of this, put a asterisk mark. So most of you know this. And the other one, the IDX, which is the identifier, which is not really required, so you should delete this. Okay, now everything else is set. Okay, because all your PDF has a title called build, and then the value is bottom of that. So click on validate. Okay, so how do you know your validation worked or not? What you do in the background, instead of I have selected 100, right? This time you select 101. Okay, now go back to your UiPath, and here again try to click on validate. So you can see it is validating. To know which value it's going to pick, click on highlight. Okay, so you can see it is pointing out the proper area of the element. Is it clear? So this is working fine now. Now click on OK, and what you do, this get text has an output. Here you create a output. Control plus K and type, let's say build2 is my variable, okay, which is going to store the value. Now what you do, before you try to write it to an Excel file, you just see that. Okay, this is the best way of testing. Just simply use a message box. I would say one of the best way. And here you can say build2. So what I want, it should open one by one all the PDFs, and it should pick the value build2, the name of the person whom it is built. So from each of this PDF, it should pick all different values and show it to me in the message box. If message box is working fine, that means I can simply write that to an Excel file just by using a data table that we are going to see next. But this you need to understand. This you need to run it here. Okay, do not build the entire workflow at a time and then try to see why it is not working. Okay, that is a wrong way of doing. The best way is, while you are learning, you do part by part, test it, because there could be a small error, a small spelling error could create problem. Okay, all right, so let's run it. Okay, so you can see it has opened the first one. Now it should pick that value, and you can see Rahul Jignesh is appearing in the message box. So the workflow is working just fine. Let's see for the second file. Okay, even this is working perfectly fine. So you understood. So it is going to do that for all the files one by one. So if this flow is working fine, then rest of the things would be easy. But remember guys, using the anchor base is a tricky thing. It is not that easy. In the PDF document, while you are trying to indicate something, the indication of that element may not happen appropriately all the time. Okay, that is not that easy. Sometimes you have to even spend hours to get the proper element. Okay, with the hit and trial method. So it depends as to what kind of a formatting has been done in the PDF. Okay, so we have seen all the names coming properly. So this anchor base I am going to apply to one by one. So build to whatever the details are there, date of issue, the same, the how to apply that remains the same. Okay, so I will not try to spend more time on that, but I am going to show you. Okay, so this one is clear. So once you have opened it, what is the next activity? You have to close it, isn't it? So once the file is open, you need to close it. Now to close that, what you have to do? Use a close application. Okay, so this time I'm removing the message box because right now it's not required. We understood it's working. Now I need to close the application. Now remember guys, while you do close application, this will work properly when you use a attach window. Okay, so the best part is, before you run the for each loop, after you start that PDF, right, all of this activity, send hotkey, anchor base, all of this, whatever is working inside the PDF, all these activities can be kept within a attach window. So that way, your workflow will remain constant. It will not fail, right? If the resolution or something gets changed, it should not fail. So that's why you should use a attach window. So I will drag and drop the attach window. So somewhere after the delay, so I'm dragging and dropping all of my previously discussed activity within a attached window. So guys, all my previously discussed activities are currently within the attached window. Now you wanted to close the application, right? So what you do, click on indicate element inside, ensure in the background your PDF is open, click on indicate element and then highlight this. So it is going to remember. Okay. And the same thing goes with attached window, indicate window on screen and you need to select this. Okay, so that way everything remains constant. So let's run the workflow once again, and this time I'm expecting, so I'm closing all the open PDFs and let me run it. So I want it to collect all the names and then it should close. Okay, it should close the application. So let me keep the message box once again just to see if the names are coming properly or not. So the variable is build to, right? So here I would say build to. Is it clear? So let me run it. Okay guys, so let's see how do you fix this error when you get this kind of a, so this error is coming from attach window, right? Okay, now to fix that, go to attach window. Okay, and this generally comes from the selector. So let's see what is wrong in the selector. Okay, so you can very well identify this is only pointing to one particular file. So when the loop is running, so if another file comes, then there will be error. So put a star over here, click on validate. Okay, the PDFs are not open in the background, but that should work. So let me save this and try to run it once again. Okay guys, so once you have corrected the attached window problem, but main problem is the start process should remain outside, and the reason behind that is only when the PDF is open, that's where it is going to act, right? The attached window. So that's where we have to first open the PDF and then have all the activities inside. Okay, so guys, once you fix the attach selector, the next selector that also we are using is in the close application, right? That also you need to verify. So here also you need to make it a star. So wherever there is a selector, ensure there is a star, so that way it should function. So once you have set everything, ensure the PDF files are not open, then you run it. Let's see. So it has opened the first file. Now it should capture the name. So you can see it is capturing the name. Very good. And now it has closed that. Now it will open the second file. Then it is maximizing the file. Then it will capture the second name. Okay, so this loop is going to run for all of it. Okay, so guys, we have understood till now. What we have understood is, modifying the selector is a very critical step, and once that is done, we so let me put it very simple. So till now it can open each file capture required data, and then it closes the file. Okay, so right now we have only worked upon only the bill to. If I have to work on date of issue, invoice number, amount due, and then if I have to scroll down and then I have to use, let me show you the workflow. Okay guys, so here the same way I have done it for bill to, the same thing I have done it for all the all the data that you want to capture. Okay, so this particular data, the below one, this is actually coming from the page. When you scroll it down, so this is page up, right? Hit on page down on your keyboard, page down. When you do this, I want to capture this, so the entire page is not visible, right? So when you do page down, it should capture this. So for that, what I have done here, I have utilized a send hotkey and I have used page down. Okay, so that's all. So page down is one of the option you can find here. Just select the page down, it will automatically do the page down and will capture that element. So anchor base is quite clear, so I don't want to spend time on that one. So how many number of items that is required? So for me, let me delete all of this. So for me, all of this data is required, so I have captured all of the data using the same activity, anchor base. Okay, anchor base is used to capture all of the data. You can also try to get the data from get text. So I have also used get text to capture one of the data. So depending on the number of data you want to capture, try out which one works good with you, or depending, because when I change the PDF file, sometimes the get text works quite well, and sometimes I can also need to go with anchor base. Okay, so there I can see, you can, I have used find image, and in the previous one I have used find element. So this is complete hit and try. So see, once you utilize, run it and see if it is capturing that particular value properly or not. If it is not capturing, try with some other way. Okay, so these are the three, find element, find image, get text. These are the three different options that you will be using, and sometimes we have to also use the OCR. Okay, depending on the PDF file. Again, I'm saying depending on the PDF file. Okay, so once all of that is done, now my next job is, it closes the file and everything is done. My next job is to write that one Excel file. Okay, now to do that, first of all, I have created an Excel file. Okay, and this is the sheet name, PDF extract, and I have already written the, this is something I have manually written all of this, and my data should be written from here. So all of this should be written from here. Okay, so this is the header. So to write all of this, go back to your workflow. First thing you do is you use a read range activity. Okay, so here I am using a read range. So after just, before you get onto the PDF file, first thing is you start reading the Excel file. Okay, so once you read the Excel file, you know how to utilize read range. You create a data table called output data table. So once the output data table is created, whatever the structure of your Excel file, so this is my structure, right? So entire structure is captured in that data table. Okay, all right. So once that is captured, what I'm doing, all the loop is going to work. Now in the loop, within that loop, I am adding an activity. Can you guess that? Yes, I'm adding an activity called add data row. Okay, so in add data row, all of this get text, right? All of these activities is storing their data into a variable. So what I'm doing, using the add data row, I'm using the array row, and here all of the variables that is capturing the data or the value from the PDF, I'm just putting a comma and writing all the variables. So you can just try it out on your UiPath. Just create a get text, and whatever the variable which is capturing that value, just mention it here with a comma. Okay, so this is the format. So I'm putting a comma. This is one variable, this is the second, this is the third. So depending on the number of items you want to pick. Okay, so these variables are the output of the get text activity. Okay, so if I go up, so if you see, I'm capturing a data here. This is the get text, and there is an output called h value, and the same thing is there inside the add data row. So depending on the number of this one, you have to write it h value. Okay, and now look at the Excel file, how your data is collected. The first one is build to name, date of issue, due date, invoice number. So the same way this has been written, the same way you need to capture your data, because once it is captured, one by one the data will be entered here. So keep the format in the same one. Okay. Okay guys, so I think this is clear. Now below that, what I'm doing, once the file is been processed, let's say it has opened one PDF file and it has processed all the data, whatever the data it has to capture from this PDF. So once it captures all of the data, it should close it, right? So now after it closes, what it will do, you know you see it has closed that application in the close window. So this much you already know. Then it is adding the data, and then in the move file activity, what I'm doing, item.toString, this is, we are still inside the for each loop, right? So the first file which has picked that string, you move to this particular output PDF. So this is actually output PDF. This is the path. So this path I have captured and putting it over here. So all the the for each loop is running, and the path is captured in the item. You have seen the very first I have seen, right? Item is the one which captures the entire path of that file. So that path is given, and here the destination path is given. This is the source and this is the destination, from and to. So that's how this will move the file into this particular path. Okay, so all my files will be moved. So this is something practically used in most of your most of the company you go. One of the project will be this one, okay, where you'll have to work on a couple of files or the PDFs where you have to capture a couple of data. It could be Excel, could be a PDF, generally PDFs when it comes to invoice. So a lot of department require a person to design a bot on this one. So this workflow is very, 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 very necessary. Okay, so we'll go through once again we'll go through, but let me run it now, and show you the result. Then once again we'll cover the entire flow so you capture everything properly. Okay, so let me use a delay activity. So sometime if your activity everything is fine and still not working, usage of delay activity comes very handy. Okay, so let me run this and see if this works. Okay, so invoice, the first one is open. It is capturing all the data. It moved down, the page is down now. Okay, it has closed it. Okay, so this time it is working, right? Just by placing a delay, it is working. So it depends. Okay, sometimes the delay is not required, but if your system is slow, delay activity is something very, very much required. And probably I would say 3 seconds, 4 seconds is a good time. So now it is working very nicely, you can see that. Okay, so this is how you overall design the entire uh, PDF automation. That goes through a lot of hit and trial, keep on trying, but best thing is you should know the how to utilize those activities, and couple of adjustment that you have to do inside the entire workflow for it to work perfectly fine on all the systems. This bot is used by any other computer, it should not fail. Okay, you have to think on all those terms. What are the areas which can fail your workflow? So it is best, once your workflow is designed, you try it on couple of other PCs. So testing has to be done very rigorously once the workflow is designed. And delay activity is the one which helps a lot. So now it is processing the fourth file. Okay, so this is the last file. Now we will see in our Excel file if all the data has been captured the way we wanted to capture. Okay, so the execution is complete. It took 2 minutes 52 seconds. So let's see the Excel file. So guys, you can see all the data has been pulled from all the different PDF files. Okay, this is the invoice number, this is the shared hosting fee, total amount, late fee, name, okay, date of issue, due date. So all of the data has been pulled successfully. So let's get back to the UiPath and see the entire flow once again. Okay, so the very first thing that I've done is I'm using an assign activity using a Directory.GetFiles, and here I am pulling the entire path of the directory, which will say C drive users and the file name, sample PDF / the file name. Okay, so it is going to pull each file with the entire directory. Now what I'm doing, I have used the Excel file to read the Excel file where I'm going to store the data. So I'm going to read the entire range. Okay, and I have included so the header and everything will be included in this one. Okay, so once the read range is done, I am going to store the data inside a data table. So this is the data table. Okay, the add header is included and this is the data table. Clear? Okay. Now after that I am using a for each loop and running the collect PDF which remembers all the path, the directory.getFiles, the first one. Okay. This array, so this is an array type which I am running in a loop, and it is going to pull each file one by one. So once it pulls the file, that will be stored in item.string is nothing but I am asking him to open that particular file using start process activity. Then I'm giving a delay. This is again depending on the system. I would recommend you to have a delay, because that way if you pass your workflow to some other system, that should also work fine there. So you should take a generic time. Generally 3 seconds is good enough from my experience. Okay, now attach window I am using because once the Excel file is open, I am doing a couple of actions, like I am doing the actual size, I am moving down of the page. For all of this, attach window is necessary, not all the time required, but I would recommend you to have it. Okay, this is the best practice. So once you have it, now what I'm doing, I'm using a send hotkey and I'm doing control num1. And as I said, control num1 is to bring the bring the PDF file to the actual size. Okay, so once I do that, then I am using the anchor base activity, using a find element and finding the value and storing that value to a variable. Okay, now when I same activity, I have to repeat for all the elements that I want to do. Now any element which is down the page, for that I am using page down with send hotkey, and then again using anchor base, collecting that data and storing that data into a variable. So this process remain common. Okay, it's a repeat process. So number of data you want to collect, number of get text, and the variable you have to use. Okay, so once all of this data is collected into a variable, I am closing that particular PDF file. So now the loop will run again. Again, it will open the another second file, third file, fourth file. Let's say you have got 100 file. The 100 file also it will open through the loop. Okay. Now each file is open, each file is closed, and then all the data that got stored with inside the loop. Remember, we are still inside the loop. All the variable that we have collected, right? So all those variables you have to mention in the add data row array row. In the add data row activity array row on the property panel, here you have to mention each variable one by one with a comma. So you have got 10, 100, 20, doesn't matter. Whatever amount of data you want to collect, all of the variable you have to mention it here. Okay. So once this is done, this is going to write the data into the data table output DT. So your output DT is nothing but your read range, right? So your read range activity is output data that is coming from the Excel. The same data table is going to write the data. So what would happen inside the Excel file, one by one row, so every time a loop runs, a row data is collected, right? So this is going to get added. Okay, so in your data table, all the data will be stored inside the data table. Okay, now once your data table has all the data, so the loop has finished. Okay, I'm coming out of the loop. Now I'm using an Excel application scope and using a write range activity, and I'm using the output data table. So that will have the entire set of data. So your output data, and when the loop runs for the first time, this will have this data. When it runs for the second time, now the data table will have this two data. Third time, then this three data. You understanding? So it runs for 100 times, all the 100 data will be there. Okay, so all the data will be there in the data table. Finally, what you do, and ensure all your variables and data table are to the main scope. It should not be within the for each loop or in that sequence, it should be in the main sequence. So that way you can utilize that variable outside of your sequence for each loop, right? So that's why I put it to main sequence, remember that. And then I'm using that data table which has all the data and writing it to the sheet. PDF extract is the sheet in that file. Okay, here I'm writing, and all the data will be written and your job is done. Understanding? So if you have got, think over how helpful this one, a person who does it manually and spending around 8 to 9 hours in the office and process about, let's say, 30, 40 or 50, or I don't know, depending on his capacity. And let's say there are like, this is the day-to-day job, that's a mundane job, right? Somebody has to repeat, and this small automation which can be practically implemented, right? Practically implemented inside the corporate departments which needs this help. Okay, this is one of the job that you might get once you are into the profile, and this is one of the activity which you need to perform. So please do watch the video, and while watching the video I would recommend you go step by step as I'm explaining you. On your UiPath, open one activity, do it, run it, and see what value is coming, why it is coming, and then get into the next. Pause the video and keep on watching one by one. So with that, once you do it, you will know what are the problems or the errors which are coming, and how error is part of this project. So getting error is a good thing. Otherwise, if you don't get an error, if the error comes with some other computer once you have published it, then it will be a problem. So getting error is a very good thing, and you exercising that error and ensuring that error should not come in any of the system where the bot is implemented. Okay, so this is a very good learning. This is something which you will be utilizing in your role. Okay guys, one more thing, I have been creating so many videos, but the number of likes and comments are probably low. I would request you, anybody who is watching and getting benefit from this video, I would request personally to please like and comment on the video. Okay, if you have any questions or you wanted to clarify a couple of your doubts, or you are working on a project where you have doubt, you want to clarify with me, please do put your comment. I will try to get an answer for you or try to get a video for you. Thank you very much guys, thank you for your support. You have a wonderful day.